A traumatic experience I once had with a Jeep Wrangler. This might be why I really prefer the Jeep Gladiator. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive JT. And that's right, I once had what I consider to be a pretty darn traumatic experience with the Jeep Wrangler. This is going to be a little story time. So let me set the stage for you. I think it was like a 2014, something like that. So it's been a few years ago. Jeep Wrangler. It was blue in color. It was the Sahara version, and I really liked it. You know, it had everything on it I wanted. It had good power. It's when they had just changed the engine, I think. Maybe it was like a 15, but it was around the time that they had changed the engine. And it was fantastic. Had great power. I loved it. Loved the color. It was perfect. So, it happened one morning when I was actually heading into work, fighting rush hour traffic. I think I was a little bit later than I wanted to be there. I don't think I was ever late to work, but so I was on the freeway, and this was in Columbus, Ohio. And rush hour in the mornings in Columbus, Ohio on 315, if you're familiar with Ohio, can be rather hectic. Bumper to bumper traffic. People fighting to get in and out of the lanes, just not a fun time. It had been raining. So I'm on the freeway and I'm probably halfway to work or something. And along this route, there's a hospital curve, if you will. It's a big, long, broad curve where when you're going around it, you can't really see what's in front of you because there's a bit of an incline, a bit of a hill. Not too severe, but a little bit. So I'm cruising along, man. I got the tunes rocking. I'm driving. I'm a little bit late, so I'm driving a little more spiritedly, admittedly. I'm in the center lane. It's 3-lane highway. I'm in the center lane. I'm cruising along. I decide to get over because I needed to go faster. Probably doing about 65, 70 miles an hour. That's about all you could do in that kind of traffic, and that was if there was a break. And there was a break. So I get over, I get on it, I'm going. Remember, it had just rained, it was wet, the freeway was wet, but it was at that point where parts of it were starting to dry off, right? So I get over, I'm in the lane, I'm rounding the curve, I'm doing, again, about 65, 70, something like that. I go around the curve, I can't see what's in front of me. I get to the point where I'm just coming up to where I can see and traffic is stopped. Again, it's bumper to bumper. I was in one of those little breaks. I'm going pretty good. So fast that it was one of those things where you really jam on the brakes to stop because there's not a lot of distance. So I'm in the curve, I hit the brakes. I start to slide because I'm in the wet part of the road. All of it hadn't dried yet. I start to slide. I'm like, oh great, little fishtail action. It wasn't horrible, but I'm sliding. So then I have to turn because I'm in the turn, right? So I go to turn, I hit dry pavement. That is not a good recipe, right? So I hit dry pavement, the tires catch, I'm no longer sliding, the Jeep whips the other way. It goes up on 2 wheels. I don't know how high up. It felt like 6 feet to me, but it went up on 2 wheels, and then it comes down, right? Well, I'm turning at the same time. It comes down, it grabs. I'm going this way because that's the way the Jeep is, you know, up. Slams down. I'm still going this way because I still have the curve momentum, right? Slammed my head on the roll bar. That was an awakening. Never would have thought that would have happened because in the Jeep, and this wasn't covered either, it was just metal. It wasn't like a top of the line Sahara or anything. I don't even know if they covered them all at all back then. So anyway, my head slams into the roll bar. I'm like, oh great. Meanwhile, I'm coming down from being on 2 wheels. At least it felt that way to me. Maybe I was just up on the suspension, but I swear it felt like I was on 2 wheels. slam my head, whip around the other way. So now I'm going the other way. So it was one of these real quick. Slam over. Fortunately, during all of that, I had slowed down enough to maintain control of the Jeep. But I gotta say, after that, and it's really because I think of Jeep's weird center of gravity, right? It has a high center of gravity because it's basically a narrow box on wheels. But I think because of all that, it kind of tainted my view of the Jeep Wrangler a little bit. And this was a 2-door, it wasn't a 4-door. I don't think they had, maybe they had the 4 doors back then, but either way, it was a 2-door. So every time I was on the freeway for quite a while after that, especially rounding that curve, I was always more careful, irregardless of what lane I was in and what the weather conditions were. All I could think was that time when I went up on 2 wheels, slammed my head on that roll bar. It was a rather harrowing experience. So I think that might have something to do with why I prefer the Jeep Gladiator a little bit more. It has a different center of gravity. It's actually, obviously rather, a longer wheelbase. I don't think I would have had that problem with the Jeep Wrangler. It really was a traumatic experience I had in that Jeep Wrangler. So it wasn't too long. I didn't have it maybe another couple of months or something after that, and I traded it off. I don't know that it was really because of that. Could have been a subconscious desire to get rid of it because that happened. But I gotta say, I never felt the same about the Wrangler again after that. And even now, when I drive my wife's, the orange Jeep Wrangler you saw in the beginning, the pumpkin, that still enters my mind once in a while, especially if I'm going somewhere that's a higher speed. You know, back to when I slammed my head into the roll bar. Fortunately, in this version, it's more padded. If that were to happen, it probably wouldn't be as painful as it was. But that's what happened to me. That's my story. I'm curious to know if anything like that has ever happened to anybody else. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you got up on a couple of wheels on the Gladiator? Or the Wrangler. And I'm not talking about off-road type stuff. I mean just driving down the freeway because of its higher center of gravity. Leave a comment, let me know. Am I the only one? I'd be curious. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about my 2021 Toyota Tacoma, and Rob Motive FST, all about my 2021 Toyota Tundra. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.